What would you do if the person you trusted for a decade, the person who knew your every weakness, looked you in the eye and told you that you were nothing? That without them, you'd simply cease to exist? I lived that nightmare. My name is Elias, and for 10 years, I thought I was building a kingdom with my wife, Sarah. Instead, I was building a pedestal for a woman who was already planning to knock it down. Before we go deeper into this story, take a second and hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and let us know where you're watching from. I'm curious to know how far these stories travel. Welcome to Family Secrets and Revenge. We lived in a quiet, leafy suburb of Columbus, Ohio. From the outside, we were the gold standard. I worked 60-hour weeks as a senior project manager to afford the colonial-style house and the annual trips to the coast. Sarah stayed home, or so I thought, managing the social calendar. I adored her. I placed her on such a high shelf that I didn't notice she was leaning away from me. The warmth in our home had turned into a polished, professional coldness. But I was too tired from providing for her to see the frost. It started with small things: a locked phone, late-night errands for groceries that never seemed to result in a full pantry. When I'd ask how her day was, she'd give me a summary so rehearsed it sounded like a corporate briefing. I felt the distance growing, a yawning chasm between our pillows at night. I tried to bridge it with flowers, with date nights, with jewelry. I didn't realize I was trying to buy back a heart that had already been sold to someone else. The truth didn't come out in a dramatic confrontation. It came through a misplaced iPad. It was sitting on the kitchen island, buzzing incessantly with notifications. I picked it up to silence it, and my world dissolved. The messages were from a man named Marcus, a fitness coach she'd met at the local gym. The photos, the plans they had for a future that didn't include me, the jokes they made about my boring work ethic. It was a physical blow to the chest. I waited for her in the dark of our living room. When she walked in at 11 p.m., smelling of expensive perfume and lies, I didn't yell. I just showed her the screen. Her reaction wasn't guilt, it was defiance. She didn't cry. She didn't beg for forgiveness. Instead, she laughed, a cold, sharp sound that cut through the silence of the house. Before we go deeper, I would love to hear your point of view. Tell me what part hit you the hardest in my story and share your thoughts in the comments. You found out. Good, she said, tossing her keys on the table. Now we can stop pretending. I want a divorce, Elias. And let's be real. You're going to give me the house and the alimony I deserve. I asked her how she could do this, how she could throw away a decade. She looked at me with pure pity and said, "Look at you. You're a shell. You don't even know how to boil an egg without me. You won't survive 6 months on your own. You'll crawl back, begging me to take you back, just so you have a sense of direction." She moved out that weekend, taking half the furniture and most of our savings, leaving me in a cavernous, echoing house. The silence was deafening. Her words looped in my head like a broken record. You won't survive. You're nothing. I sat on the floor of my empty living room in Columbus, staring at the dust motes dancing in the light, and for a moment, I believed her. I felt like a ghost haunting my own life. The first month was a blur of takeout containers and missed shifts at work. I was grieving a woman who never actually existed. My performance at the firm slipped, and my boss, a hard-nosed man named Mr. Henderson, pulled me aside. He told me I had 2 weeks to get my head in the game, or I was out. That was the wake-up call. I realized that by falling apart, I was proving Sarah right. I was letting her win. I started small. I cleaned the house until my hands bled. I went to the grocery store and learned how to actually cook, not just survive, but nourish myself. I joined a local boxing gym in downtown Columbus, venting my rage and betrayal into a heavy bag until I couldn't breathe. Every drop of sweat felt like I was washing away a piece of her influence. If you were in Elias's shoes, standing in an empty house after being told you're nothing, what would be your first move? Share your thoughts so far on this story below. I read every single one. With Sarah's social demands gone, I found I had an incredible amount of focus. I poured that energy into a side project I'd been dreaming of for years, a specialized logistics software. I worked my day job, then stayed up until 2 a.m. coding and building. My mind was sharper than it had been in years. The boring work ethic she mocked became my greatest weapon. 3 months in, the physical change was undeniable. I had dropped the husband weight and replaced it with lean muscle, but the internal change was bigger. I stopped checking her social media. I stopped wondering if she was with Marcus. I started liking the man I saw in the mirror, a man who didn't need someone else's permission to be happy. I was no longer a shell. I was a fortress. By the 5-month mark, my software caught the eye of a tech firm in Chicago. They didn't just want to buy the license. They wanted to bring me on as a consultant for a fee that dwarfed my previous annual salary. I signed the contract in a glass-walled office overlooking the city, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't known in a decade. I wasn't just surviving, I was soaring. Word travels fast in suburban circles. Sarah had moved in with Marcus, but the fitness coach lifestyle wasn't as glamorous without my paycheck funding it. I heard through friends that they were arguing constantly. Marcus wasn't the provider I was. He was a drifter. Sarah was starting to realize that the boring stability she hated was the very thing that kept her world spinning. 6 months to the day after she walked out, I bumped into her at a coffee shop near the old neighborhood. I was dressed in a tailored suit, headed to a meeting. She looked tired. The designer bags were gone, replaced by something cheap. She stared at me, her jaw nearly dropping. I looked healthier, younger, and more confident than she had ever seen me. "Elias," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You look different." We sat down for 5 minutes. She started talking about how Marcus wasn't who she thought he was and how she missed our life. Then came the hook. "I made a mistake, Elias. I think we can work through this. You must be so lonely in that big house." She actually reached for my hand, expecting the old, desperate Elias to grab hold. I gently pulled my hand away. I looked at her, not with anger, but with a calm, chilling indifference. "You were right about one thing, Sarah," I said. "I didn't know who I was without you, but it turns out the person I was without you is someone I actually like. You said I wouldn't survive 6 months. Well, it's been 6 months, and I've never felt more alive." Knowing how Sarah treated Elias when he was down, do you think he was right to walk away, or should he have given her a second chance? Tell me what part hit you the hardest in my story and share your thoughts in the comments. I stood up, paid for her coffee, and walked out the door without looking back. I sold the Columbus house a week later and moved into a high-rise in the city. My life isn't perfect, but it's mine. I learned that the most dangerous lie someone can tell you is that you need them to be whole. Revenge wasn't about ruining her life. It was about building a magnificent one that she no longer had a place in. Betrayal is a fire. It can either turn you to ash or it can forge you into steel. I chose the steel. Thank you for walking through this journey with me. If this story resonated with you, or if you've ever had to prove someone wrong about your worth, please let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Family Secrets and Revenge for more stories of resilience and justice. Your support means everything. Until next time, stay strong and know your value.